another sunrise, here the day comes. To another song for when tears fall down. There's nothing puts a mind at ease unless there's something within. Wonder whether you found peace in the sunrise, here the day comes.
Better believe the truth will surface. So many people have prayed for justice. Look at the time that's passed. Where in the hell are the facts? Giving the guilty a pass. Look at the face of an angel. Look at the people that Tabitha touched. Bringing my city together with love. Through the pain, sing your name, sing your song. Tabi's right here, never gone. People angry, secrets in the dark. Standing in this empty park. Tears are falling over broken hearts. Hope this song will keep a family strong.
Your lives have changed since the day that she went away. I pray your family will find peace in some way. I know it's hard to cope. Hope feels like a broken road. Through the darkest days, you're not alone. That's why you're hearing Tabi's song. So just
say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes.
how do we continue living without those we love? When the times in need, sometimes we just need a hug. Wish I had the words to say to make you feel more happy. Cause now that your world is different, there'll be no one like Tabi. That's how we feel. Now everybody's
Singing Tabi's song. Light your candle, see her smile. You were not alone, you were not alone. Know your heart is aching and that time don't really heal. But your faith in God has kept you safe and always will. Something about this empty park just don't feel the same. When it's pouring you might see an angel when it rains. Something about this empty park just don't feel the same. When it's pouring you might see an angel when it rains.
With you, how we miss you. It's so much harder these days than it was with you. Blow you a kiss too. Say see you later, never goodbye. Cause when the tears start flowing, Tabi's by your side.
Say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, just sing her song. Just sing her song. Just sing her song. Even when the tears start falling, just sing her song. Even when the tears start falling, even when the tears start falling, just sing her. Say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabi's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes.
Hello, everyone. All of a sudden, my background went away. I'm not sure what's going on. Gonna have to fix that. Hang on a minute. Well, we'll put this one on. Okay. Let's bring Josh in. There we go.
My teeth look really white in this.
It's amazing, huh?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. LOS 105. That song is amazing.
It is.
And I think the one thing that I'm going into tonight with is Justice Ain't That Far Away. Justice Ain't That Far Away, Marv.
Exactly. You and I have been doing a lot of talking and going back and forth on theories and suspects and all kinds of things.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from you, and I'm just thankful that God put me back in this position. Because today I put together about 2,000 words of a theory that I thought really made sense with the last 2 episodes, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, my mind's connecting dots that they weren't connecting 2 years ago. So
Isn't that amazing?
it really is.
And when you think about it, I mean, everything that we do know, but if we got you, me, and Andrea in a room together, or even through StreamYard and just talk, it would be amazing the amount of information that would come out.
Absolutely.
You know, and add Mark to that.
Yeah.
And
it could be like a war room thing, and
exactly
whatever we need to do to get our minds together. But I do have, as we've talked about, a lot more reading to do to get up to speed. But I think that the last 2.5 episodes, what I put together today and asked you to critique, I think it's a really good starting point. But
Yep.
you know, we're almost done with the book, and we're going to have, to take this a new direction. And I think that we have a clear one now.
Yes.
So it's exciting to be
It
back
is.
in this. And Mark on a personal level means the world to me. So I'm not going to let myself rest until we take this to the end.
I agree 100%. Mark says, agreed, Marvin, Josh. Yeah. So, all right, we are on chapter 10.
Yep, chapter 10.
Okay.
We're through the weediest part of the book, and the last few chapters, couple chapters, are more of like the emotional reaction and the toll on the family.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing to keep in mind is this was almost 10 years ago now that these interviews were done, and so Drake was still very young. So chapter 10, the name of chapter 10 was "She Was a New Mom,"
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like that was the most appropriate way to start it off. So
yeah, I agree.
So chapter 10, whenever we're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
We can talk afterwards.
It can be the same format. Just stop me whenever
Yeah.
you want. Sure.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. It was December 23rd, 2016, 2 days before Christmas, and a little over 14 years since the murder. It had also been over a year since a full-length feature story on the death of her daughter ran in the Kokomo Tribune, and still Buffy Parrish, Tabby's mother, waits for the answers that she fears may never come. Holiday traditions of years past have given way to traveling, but she still spends time with her grandchildren, including bonding time with Drake, where they bake cookies and talk. Drake was a teenager by then, and as he'd gotten older, he'd begun feeling a sense of animosity in his heart toward the people who had a hand in causing his mother's death.
Mm-hmm.
I think it bothers him. He's great with me, but I'm grandma. I'm the stability, Buffy said. I'm here, and he knows he can turn to me. I think we have a pretty good relationship. 14 months following the press revisiting of her daughter's demise, she still feels that Michael is playing the victim in this, just as he has since day one in her eyes. He played it the same way when Tabitha was killed, she said. He uses her death as an excuse not to work. He says people won't hire him. He gets jobs all the time. He just won't keep them. Buffy recalled a story from around the time that Tabi died, when Tabi's uncle gave him a job, but she said he had trouble showing up. It's aggravating for Buffy to see Michael use her daughter's death as a way to excuse his shortcomings in life. When she went missing and wound up dead, we had donation jars out, and he went and took all the jars with the money, she said. He needed something to live on, and it was easier than going to work. That's been Michael's stance since day one. Buffy's memory of late 2002 has burned a permanent scar into her soul, and her memories of the days and weeks surrounding her daughter's death, like the anxiety and ultimate crushing blow, are still fresh. She was babysitting for Tabi on a Saturday shortly before Tabi's death. Tabi had asked her mother to keep Drake while she went out with some friends in Lebanon, about 50 minutes southeast of Tipton in Boone County. She hadn't been out in months, Buffy said. She was a new mom, Tabi brought Drake over to her mother's house and made what at the time seemed like quite a peculiar comment. The comment proved to be ominous looking back. She told me that if anything happened to her, that there were pictures of Drake and her in the diaper bag to identify them, as well as the people who she believed would be responsible for those be responsible. And those pictures turned out to be of Kyle Neff and Michael Raines, Buffy said. She came back to pick up the baby the next day, and I asked her about it and what she meant by that. That's when she informed me that Michael and his friends were into cocaine. She didn't want to have it in the house or around the baby.
Mhm.
Tabi asked her mother how a person was supposed to go about getting out of a gang once they had been initiated, indicating that Michael was in need of the information. I told her that there's no way to get out of the gang. You die or you run away and hide, Buffy said. At the time, we were working in Kentucky and we were trying to get her a home down there. Buffy felt the realness of her child's worry. Tabi was a very happy-go-lucky, high-spirited child, according to her mother. Buffy could tell that this was serious, simply judging from her daughter's demeanor in that moment. Tabi and Michael were split up at the time of the conversation regarding the photos in the diaper bag. Buffy explained that Michael was staying with a female in Indianapolis, but that Tabi implored him to come back to Tipton County so they could work on their relationship. Tabi was adamant that divorce was not an option. Tabi went missing on a Wednesday, and Buffy claims that Michael was at Jim Dandy restaurant in Tipton the following day and asked a waitress out on a date. According to Buffy, Michael's mother, Roberta Souders, would not allow him to speak to Buffy following the disappearance and discovery of Tabi's body. They wouldn't let me back into the apartment. They wouldn't let me get any of her stuff, Buffy said. Roberta and him packed all of her stuff, and I got half of it. If it was an outfit, I got the bottom half and not the top. I got the sewing machine with no cords. I got parts of the crib. That's what I got of Tabitha's.
Wow.
That's the end of 10. Really short.
Wow. Carol, I think you should look up what the definition of trolls is. Because we're definitely not trolls, but seems like you might be one.
Carol, I implore you to make a stab at anything in this book, and we'll dig it up in the documents and show you that it's fact on the record, other than what the family says. And if you want to watch the trolls, there's a whole series of movies out. So go to Trollstis or something, because this is not the place. Dumbass.
Yeah. So I can't imagine having your daughter killed and you get half of her stuff and it's not even, the half you get is not even complete.
Yeah, I mean, if you, the only thing I can go on is what Buffy is saying, and that cannot be half of what possessions she had in the apartment when she moved in. I think Mark can attest to it. It was just a small fraction of what she owned. It couldn't have been even half, even close.
Right.
That would be a question for the family better than me, but that doesn't seem like nearly half of what she owned. Couldn't be.
No. And she's definitely got some what is the word I'm trying to think of? Specific feelings regarding Michael at that time.
Yeah. And as the chapters, there's a couple chapters left, and as it goes on, she kind of dives into why she feels that way. And, you know, it's evidenced from, you know, experiences she's had with Michael and their family.
Wow.
And yeah, I implore anyone to read the documents of the case, and not even this book. You don't have to read this book. Read all the case documents and make the conclusion for yourself. If you don't see the clear inconsistencies at this point, it's because you don't want to, and that's a fact.
Exactly. Absolutely. How long is chapter 11? Or yeah, 11.
Well, let me do it this way. There's the whole book itself, 228 pages, and this is on page 203. So 11, I can tell you, starts on page 3. The chapters here. So chapter 11 is 13 more pages, and then the last chapter is 12. So,
Do you want to read more?
I mean, I think we could probably do one more for sure.
Yeah.
At least, if you want to save it for another night. Let me get back to the spot. Don't feed the trolls.
Yep.
That's just going to fuel me to keep reading, Debbie. I hope that's the Debbie I think it is. I hope.
Yeah. Who takes Tupperware containers and just throws them out without looking at them?
Chapter 11. When Tabi came up missing, Buffy explained that Michael stayed out of the inner workings of trying to find her and was reluctant initially to file a missing persons report. The day they found Tabi's body, Michael told Buffy's father-in-law that he knew it was Tabi before she was ever identified and that she had been shot in the head. And that was before we knew, Buffy said. So he knew that. I don't know. And of course, when they announced it was Tabi, he took off running and ended up coming back around the corner of the police station with the gang. There wasn't a tear in his eyes. That account directly contradicts the story Michael told during interview for the story that ran in the Kokomo Tribune the previous year. There was no remorse, nothing, Buffy added. I suspected them from day one, honestly. This is Buffy talking. Buffy walked into Tabi and Michael's apartment when she came up missing and described the living quarters as being in disarray. It was broken windows, broken ceiling tiles. Yeah, the house was in, you could just tell a fight had happened in there, she said. At the time, Roberta is in her own apartment, tearing out her kitchen cabinets, and this is a rental home. A lot of things were very, very weird. It was like a puzzle for Buffy as she tried to piece together every little detail she came across to make it fit together and make sense of the final weeks of her daughter's life. Gary Stout told her early on in the case that she should start keeping a ledger of everything she encountered. I wrote down minute-to-minute conversations where I was at, who I had talked to, what I had seen. I have books of everything I kept, she said. For about 3 years, I did that.
She did too.
Gary Stout was meticulous with his record keeping. Case files that Buffy was able to obtain are sufficient proof that the case did not fall short of justice because he dropped the ball. Buffy sat with Stout nearly every day for a year at the police station working on case-related items. He felt he knew who was responsible, Buffy said. There were a lot of connections, and he told me, you know, Buffy, I know where they are, and they aren't going anywhere. He just had to have all the facts straight. Stout never went into the full details regarding his theory. However, Buffy did notice that as people were interviewed regarding what happened to Tabi, they would claim to not have seen her or been around her, but would also be in possession of Tabi's belongings, such as a jacket of hers that contained a vehicle registration for a car belonging to someone else. There was a lot of lying that went on, Buffy said, and we knew it. But Stout died before any of the cases went to trial, and when he died, Buffy claims all of the casework Stout had produced disappeared. It's possible that those case files ended up in possession of the Tipton County Prosecutor's Office, but those files remain under lock and key, not available for public view. Reporters working on this story found that members of law enforcement, even 15 years after the fact, were going to folks involved in the case to tell them not to cooperate with the press. That doesn't surprise me, Buffy said. Jay Rich knows exactly what happened. I have been battling for that for over 20 years, you know? I know they know. It's proving it. According to Buffy, Jay Rich and Tony Frawley are best friends. Additionally, the Souders family owned the Cork and Keg, a popular liquor store in Tipton. Ironically enough, the store Bush alleged to have purchased his vodka from the night of Tabi's death. and were also involved in Carter's supermarket and White's meat market. This is all according to Buffy. And this is where she really takes the stab at these people that I've never been able to prove this, and I want to say that now. This is Buffy's words. There are several businessmen in town. I know this for a fact and cannot prove it. I mean, she says, a close friend of mine who has passed away now married into the family. They'll take a trip together once a year, and they'll get a cabin and they'll all do coke, Buffy said. It's doctors, it's chiropractors, it's lawyers, and it's your judges. They are all friends, and they would all go out of town twice a year at the same time. Never been able to prove any of that. A former elected official of a different Indiana city who will remain anonymous for confidentiality reasons told a similar story, outing that the narcotics were stored in an old furniture warehouse in nearby hamlet of Hobbs. This elected official said that to my face and will never be revealed. A story that surfaced but never made it to the press was that Tabi was found with an amount of cocaine on her when she died that would have carried a heavy price tag on the black market. She was found with cocaine in her system, but if you go through the report, you'll find that it was injected 5 to 15 minutes prior to her death, Buffy said. It had not crystallized. I can't prove any of this. Right. At least that's what Gary Stout told me, and I was taken by that because that's what she wanted to get away from. I turned the chat off. So were the same people supplying Raines and Neff with cocaine also supplying the city's elite with the same narcotic? Yes, Buffy said, very much so. And when one goes down, they all go down. Every day, Michael Raines told us, they'll never get us. Everybody tells a different story. They can't convict. To some, Raines acted like a broken human as a result of the death of his wife, who was also the mother of his child. But to Buffy, Raines was an ass, she said. He was smearing it in my face. But I couldn't prove it, Buffy added. After Stout died, Buffy went to Rich for help. And when she asked the county prosecutor for help, she said she had members of the media and a construction company ready to go out to the landfill to dig, following a lead in the case, and Rich apparently refused to help. That lead links back to Debbie Neff's revelation that when cleaning out the shed behind Cheryl's restaurant in the months following the murder, several plastic dope pins were thrown out without the contents being inspected. In one of his ever-changing stories, Kyle Neff claimed to have put Tabby's belongings in one of the bins in that shed once he returned home from the park on the night of October 2nd. Those bins supposedly ended up in the county landfill, but that was impossible because the bins were disposed of in 2003 and the Tipton County landfill permanently closed in August of 1997. The commercial trash service that emptied the Cheryl's dumpster would have taken the trash elsewhere. It turns out the commercial trash service dumped its trucks at the landfill in Wabash County, Indiana, and according to Mark Tate, Tabby's stepfather at the time, the landfill knew within a reasonable level of certainty where the bins in question could be located if allowed to dig into the massive mounds of trash. He wouldn't sign off on it, and that's when Jay Rich and I got into an argument, Buffy said. I asked him, why don't you want to figure the case out? And I knew then, she continued, there was no hope of figuring it out. He wasn't even trying. He wouldn't talk to me. He hung up on me. Jay was just as bad as Michael was to me at the same time. He was just nasty. She continues, they have the truth, and that's why they aren't searching for it. Jay Rich told me, you can't take me down. Nobody can take me down. He straight out told me that, she said. Buffy told Rich that one day the truth was going to come out and that he would go down. He said, no, I won't. She deadpanned. You won't take me down and nobody else will. I do what I want, and he does, she said. Rich was first elected to the seat of county prosecutor in 2003 and in 2022 won his 5th consecutive reelection. When Stout died, Buffy explained that the Tipton Police Department played little to no role in the case. Rich handled it from that point on, but Stout did all he could, working the case until his illness progressed to the point that he was homebound. Mm-hmm. This case was a big deal to Gary, Buffy said, when Gary died, because I had been up there to the police station for over a year every day, and I knew that case. And I knew that case when he was on the case. I had total confidence in him. When he passed away, we still had that glimmer of hope until it went to Jay Rich. I knew at that time it wasn't going to go anywhere. And it hasn't since the Balser acquittal, even though the Tipton County Prosecutor's Office considers the case open. Anytime I look for information, I always would try to double check, triple check, because I didn't want to go to the authorities with a false accusation, Buffy added. I always wanted to make sure what I was talking about was correct. When the case went to Rich in the prosecutor's office, Buffy was well versed in the case and knew what she was talking about because Gary Stout allowed her to be heavily involved in the search through the searching of the leads that came in regarding the murder. I worked with Gary for so long and Jay wouldn't even talk to me, Buffy said. Literally, he had nothing to do with me. I kind of knew right then, again, that the case was going nowhere. Buffy claims that when Stout and Rich allowed Bush to reenact his statement to the police in the Tipton City Park, that Stout did not believe the story from the get-go. Gary had several interviews with Andrew Bush, Buffy said. He also took Kyle Neff through the park. I don't know if it was to see if the stories would differ or what, to see how it played out, but I don't believe Gary believed Bush at all. There were no shell casings, no blood stains, and none of Tabby's DNA found in the park either. This would be inconsistent with the story that Balser, Neff, and Yates carried or drug her body from the footbridge to a spot in Cicero Creek behind the youth baseball diamonds, a trek of at least several hundred feet with, for the lack of a better term, dead weight.
Mm-hmm.
Bush himself even testified that he got blood spatter on his face when the shooting occurred, but not a shred of physical evidence other than the bullet was ever produced. So why would the prosecution go with Bush's story? Because Jay is too close to Debbie Neff, Buffy said. He did not want it to come out that they were involved. This is Buffy's quote. Buffy has a theory of how her daughter wound up dead. A couple days before the murder, her theory is that Michael had decided that he wanted out of the marriage and the best way to do it was to kill Tabby because divorce was too hard, considering the fact that he may have to pay child support. These are Buffy's feelings. Buffy believes that her daughter, at some point in the days leading up to her death, dumped an undisclosed amount of cocaine down the drain at their apartment. I think Michael Raines was selling it, okay, Buffy said. And I think they got in a fight, and she said, no way. And I think she flushed it into the toilet, and her got into it. Then Mommy came into the picture and tried to clean it up, but couldn't. And that's when they got their buddies, and moved her body. Sometime prior to the fight, they had gone to a party. Tabby showed up with the people in question, but left and never came back, Buffy surmises. I don't think they killed her that night. I think they beat her and stuffed her in the trunk of a car, Buffy said, until they could figure out what to do with her. Then it came out that they needed a body because she was just a missing person at that point. These are Buffy's words. Michael couldn't go on with his wife, so they produced the body. I think there were some people who had no clue when this was going on and were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Buffy says the Raines apartment was examined for blood spatter evidence using luminol following the murder, and Michael's new girlfriend at the time told Buffy there was something hidden under the carpet. They moved out in the middle of the night when I had Drake, Buffy said. They didn't tell me where they were moving, nothing. I was supposed to be on vacation. I came home and found that they had parked a U-Haul down the road and moved out. The girlfriend, who Buffy did not name, told her that she thought Michael had hidden a gun up in the loft of the apartment, so Buffy went and looked. Tabby and her younger sister Tara were very close, according to Buffy. Tara had been in the apartment before countless times, so Tara went along to look as well. When the two entered the apartment, Tara looked at her mother and said, Mom, the carpet looks really weird in there. It was right in the bedroom, Buffy said. It was quite obvious that it wasn't right. That's when I pulled it up. There was a hole in the floor. I am looking, and that's when I see the shirt tucked under there. According to Buffy, there was blood on the shirt. She took it to the Tipton County Prosecutor's Office, who deemed the evidence tampered with. It looked like someone had been busted up around the face and mouth, Buffy said. It was a blue shirt. I turned it into them and never saw it again. Mind you, the ex-girlfriend is with us too, telling us something was wrong, Buffy continues. She was the one who gave us access to the apartment. I'm thinking, yay, but Jay didn't want me involved from day one. I had to pull teeth to get the man to even talk to me, and then he just wouldn't talk to me at all. Buffy claims that Michael told her that Andrew Bush received cash to give his fairy tale story in court. Again, Buffy's claim. I can't prove it. They couldn't prosecute him because he was underage and he couldn't be charged. That's why they picked Andrew Bush, she said. 18 grand just to lie. I'm pretty sure they paid him about $18,000. Buffy's direct quote. People who lived around the area of Jackson and South Streets near Tipton Park did report hearing gunshots that night, which would seem to be consistent with someone being shot in the park around the time of Tabby's death, according to Bush's story. But Buffy believes that after Tabby was beaten, she was taken to Debbie Neff's house where she was eventually killed. They had to find something to do with her. They had to hide her, Buffy said. They beat her up so bad, they thought they'd either get in trouble for beating her up or kill her and get off with it. And that's what they did. I definitely believe she was killed in Debbie Neff's basement. Debbie Neff had it bleached 3 times, and of course, they found the stroller and everything else between that house and the park. These are all Buffy's claims. Buffy explained that the group of people were known to hang out at that Connie Street location, or the party house, as Buffy said, as she described it. That house is located 2 blocks from the park. Buffy says, I know that Michael was at Kyle's house at 2:30 p.m. that day when he was supposed to be at school, she said. He showed up at Kyle's house, and Kyle went and took out Tabby. They met. Tabby, not thinking that Michael was in town, she thought they were going to see a sick grandma. She continues, I believe in her mind she knew something was up, but Tabby was that type of person. If someone needed help, she'd be there, you know. There were plenty of times through our business where she'd say, Mom, give this kid a chance. He's in trouble, but give him a chance. She just wanted to help people. Buffy still wholeheartedly believes that Kyle and Michael set the events that led to Tabby's death in motion. She was at Kyle's house. She was at the house she shared with Michael, then went to a party, Buffy said. From what I understand, she never came back. At that time, I don't really honestly know if she was in the trunk for 2 or 3 days or if she was at someone's home, but I don't think she was dead at that point. I have a problem because I believe she was shot in Debbie Neff's basement. I know there was a big fight at Kyle Neff's because there was blood everywhere. I know there was a fight at Michael's house because the house was just destroyed. Buffy, that's what Buffy says. And then, so the one thing about what Buffy is saying here that doesn't really jive with the pathologist is that the pathologist says she was in water for at least 72 hours.
Right.
So this is Buffy's theory. And that part of it doesn't really match. Buffy feels that Tabby was probably shot a day after taking a severe beating, and that once the drug-fueled partying and rage were off, the killers had realized what they had done and made the decision at that time to end her life. It seems hard to believe that a police force would not connect the dots that Buffy did unless they were trying to cover something up, she feels. I think a lot did connect the dots, Buffy surmised. If you notice, there were some police officers that quit the force after this. Buffy wasn't surprised in any way when Balser was acquitted, naturally, understanding her theory. I don't think she pulled the trigger, Buffy said. Not at all. I think she was involved. But I was told immediately from Tony Frawley, we were going to get these thugs off the street. I think they wanted to blame it on Liz. She was at the bank at 5:30 in Kokomo. The ATM camera proves her alibi, you know. Not really, but yeah. I mean, Buffy wakes up and still thinks about all the scenarios and the agony of knowing that no one has ever served any jail time for her daughter's murder. Picking up the pieces of losing a daughter and experiencing the convoluted investigation that ensued and fell apart in front of the jury has been a long, arduous process that many days seem far from complete, even after 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me crazy that they won't even look at it, she said. Of course, I can't get anyone else to look at it. It's because it's too political. But in the same sense, I believe that most of the Tipton community knows that it was done badly or wrongly. So I still have hope that someday it will be solved. I just have to keep that faith going. Buffy believes that it could possibly take someone else's child, but the child in a position of prominence in Tipton County for any new light to be shed on the case. Kyle Neff getting busted for molestation, charges that were reduced to sexual misconduct with a minor as part of a plea bargain. I added that. I hoped that would spark someone to come forward, but I guess he didn't hurt anyone from Tipton, Buffy said. I hope one day someone will have the conscience as they get older. They all have kids now, pretty much, and hopefully someone will come forth and tell the truth. She continues, but I don't think it'll be solved by the police by any means. Maybe if there is a change of administration, that would work. But it's going to take a civilian coming forward and saying, hey, I was there, I know what happened. But even then, I don't trust that something like that would ever go anywhere, because that's the way Tipton County is.
Mhm.
She continues, I don't think Jay Rich wants it out. I don't think Tony Frawley wants it out. They want to keep it as quiet as much as they can. We'll take a break here if you want some things to say. Hopefully the comments are not a firestorm, because I'm not looking anymore.
No, they're not. I think those two individuals skedaddled pretty quickly.
But as you can see, though, and I don't think Mark would let me on this show if this book was not based solely in fact, first of all. And I challenge anyone
Yeah.
to point to a book, part of this book, and say, you can't back this up with fact. And I will say the only way that's possible is if it's a quote from someone else that's not my opinion, it's someone else's opinion. Everything else is in the case files. Marv has verified this. I've verified this. Andrea has too. And I challenge anyone. People are just scared, and that's what that was. I guarantee you.
Oh, I guarantee you too. You know,
I'm not scared.
it's kind of funny because tonight I chose to put this not only on YouTube, but I put it on the Beyond the Evidence Facebook page, not the group, the page. And look what happens.
Yeah. The woodwork becomes awfully visible.
And don't get me wrong, every mother loves their child. Okay? But every mother should also do the right thing. And if their child committed or took part in a brutal murder, that mother should turn their child in and all the evidence, not hide it.
I
Not
listen. I cannot agree more.
It.
Not use your connections to make it go away.
Exactly.
I've said this on the record at least 3 times in this show. Debbie Neff personally has been so good to me throughout my life. So is Wes and Kyle even too. But the facts are the facts.
Yeah. And you can't just let something go by the wayside when you hear it from multiple people.
I would never put anything like this on my name if I cannot back it up with fact. And that's just,
yeah.
I put my whole integrity of my career on it. I don't want to feel like I'm on trial here, because I'm not, but I just want people that are here to actually know that, look back at my career, I've not lied to anyone on purpose.
No.
Ever.
And the things that Buffy put in her part, the fact that allegedly Jay Rich and Debbie Neff were in a relationship, I've heard from several people. I also was told that Debbie Neff wasn't his only squeeze, that Elizabeth Balser's mother was also allegedly in a relationship with him. So who knows for sure? But when multiple people come out and say that from that town, it's quite interesting.
This is so painful for me, because I've said before, like, writing about this was painful. Writing about murder is painful. But the things that you're saying are painful because, like, they may or may not be true. I can't prove them. I didn't put them in the book, but at some point, and I want to say this too, I tried it especially hard to not editorialize in this book. I tried to stay as close to the facts as possible, but you have to let a grieving mother who was dealing with the miscarriage of justice for 2 decades speak her piece. I mean, how can you not? And you talk about mothers doing the right thing. Well, until you have your child murdered, you probably won't understand the emotional reaction you would have 20 years after the fact that they slammed the door shut on a case that wasn't solved. How do you blame Buffy at all for coming out with these comments.
Exactly.
When you see all the clear inconsistencies that we pointed out in the last 2 episodes, it's just mind-boggling that we would have a visceral reaction in that regard, unless someone feels threatened that the truth might come out. That's my opinion.
And when they're threatened, we get comments like we have tonight. And that says something. Leaves a clear message.
Well,
at least.
Anybody that knows me, you included now over the last couple of years, if you tell me I can't do something, what am I going to do?
You're going to do it.
You're the same way.
Mhm.
And if you think that's some type of warning shot across my bow, I dare you. I fucking dare you. That's all I will say. And I'll stop with the visceral clapbacks. But
yes. So to get specific, we had someone tell us that the fender bender that Jay got into on his way to court, that Debbie picked him up from that.
That story I've been told too, that Debbie was the one that picked him up, but I haven't heard that part, that Linda Spivey was with him.
Yes.
And there's no way to prove that, but if that's what you've heard, then you can stand on that. But
thank you, Melissa. So where are we going to go from here, Josh?
I'm not through the end of the chapter. I've got
okay,
like 2.5 more pages, or no. Let me see. I'm on 13 and it ends at 15. So
okay.
we can go there, and then this can just be a shorter one if you want. We can come back later.
Yeah, we can do another one on Thursday, finish up the last chapter, do a wrap up, and then move on from there.
Sure. And I will say this, that you and I had talked about this a couple times in recent days, that this probably needs to have a second edition.
Mm-hmm.
And that little circus earlier, that's happening now. No way, not happening. And we're gonna
put out a second edition.
You have no idea how petty and vindictive I can be, and that just is going to be what sparks this.
Yep.
I'm just being real with y'all right now. Don't put up with the intimidation. I'm not going to. No. I know my rights. You want to sue me? You can have the LLC that owns this book, and you can have the $5 it's worth.
Exactly.
You think I'm dumb enough to put this in my name, my actual personal name? Anyway, all right. We'll get to these last 2.5 pages, and then we'll reconvene.
Okay.
Buffy fully admits that the only reason she sticks around Tipton County is because she's still driven to find out what really happened to her daughter, and she had given up since then and moved away. She'd had enough. I'm to the point now that I'm ready to go, she said. It's not that I don't want to know, but I'm ready to get on with my life. You have to have faith, and I do. I don't think God puts you through anything you can't handle, and in turn, the truth will come out one day. I don't think I will die not knowing. I will find out. And as she has throughout this chapter, Buffy pulls no punches when she talks about organizations like the Tipton County Prosecutor's Office and the Tipton County Sheriff's Department. You took an oath with that job, and just because you have power, it doesn't mean that oath shouldn't count, she said. I think they choose the power over the oath.
Mm-hmm.
Buffy says she went to high-ranking officials at the Indiana State Police to try and get them to see that the individuals from the state who were investigating the case were too closely, personally intertwined with members of the local agencies, and that the conflicts of interest left the case rife for cover-ups and corruption to creep in. Tipton State, everybody failed, Buffy said, and that's how I felt. Like I said, I had total confidence in the law. Now, I don't trust a damn bit of it. I looked over my shoulder a lot in the beginning because we were followed and stalked and threatened. That's why my parents and my aunt moved. They were getting dead animals in their trash and threatened all the time. They were mean. They were very mean. I think it was the people involved. Buffy starts to get emotional the more she lets her analysis marinate in her psyche. That's my point. So who killed Tabi? She exclaimed. If Liz was acquitted, Kyle didn't get any charges. John didn't get any charges. And I don't think John was involved. I'll say it right now. I've gone back to them and asked, if this is a closed case, give me the records, but they won't give me the records. But yet it's a closed case in their eyes. How could it be a closed case if there is still a murderer out there? Jay Rich isn't investigating it, yet won't give the records to anybody. He refuses. Buffy continues, if there's nothing to hide, why aren't they continuing to work? They put you up against a wall. What are you going to do? Jay Rich has those records locked up. It's hard to fight against the law. If Tabitha hadn't had her life cut short in 2002, just a month from her 17th birthday, 17, what type of person would she be 20 years later? I'm sure she'd be a great mom because she loved kids. She loved Drake. Buffy said, I don't know for sure. I think about that a lot. My other kids don't drink. They don't do drugs. I think they turned out pretty good. They may not be $1 million successes, but they are good people, good human beings. I have to say they do have morals and values, and that's true. TJ and Tara are wonderful people.
Mm-hmm.
Those who were close to Tabby still miss elements of her personality now as much as they did when her death was still fresh emotional wound in late 2002. Her laugh, her being happy. She was always happy, Buffy said. Very seldom did you hear her say something mean or negative about someone. She didn't care if you had problems. That didn't mean you weren't a good person. Everyone has problems. That's just the type of person she was. She was happy and outgoing. She was a human being with a soul. She was a human being with a soul.
Exactly.
So stop the ridiculousness, people. Throughout this, I've grown to see that she is right, Tabby said. So you have kind of that approach standing back and judging people. I have a hard time trusting people now. That was the problem then. I trusted these kids. I had them in my home. I watched their kids. It's sad, but I don't know if it's just Tipton that's that way. But I just want to be left alone now. Buffy says her ears are always open for new information because you never know when someone with something new could come forward that could rekindle the case that is clearly cold at this point.
Yeah.
A lot of people still ask me questions about Tabby, Buffy said. I tell them what they want to hear and answer their questions. One day I hope to get answers, but I don't go out and pursue it like I used to. There are still people in Tipton who believe it was handled very badly. That's the end.
Okay, so we have a question for you.
Sure.
Where is the book available?
The book is available.
Is it
Here's what I'm going to do. So we're really at an important juncture of this. I have sold the last of my last run, which is a good thing, which means we've sold over 400 now, but I've got to order more. And there's also, and I can do that, but I want it to be known that there will be a second edition coming out. I don't know how long it will be or how long it'll take for me to review the remainder of the documents that I haven't seen.
Right.
Mark and I had talked about buying a mini run of a few. So if anyone wants the first edition, I can do that. And I can put the email address to send it. You can send me a thing, like a little blurb about what the book, and I can work that out with you. But also I've talked with Mark, and Marv, you can get involved in this after we're done with the book about, finding a publishing deal and getting this on bookstores and see how far we can go with it. Because, obviously we need money for the things we're trying to find. And we're looking for ways to, find revenue streams. And I feel like this was probably a big one for the case.
Yes.
I'm willing to help financially however I can. So yes, I'm going to put the email address in the chat.
Okay.
And I will begin religiously watching that again. So that, let me make sure I have that right. Give me just a sec.
Okay.
Sorry. But anyway, we can keep talking. I'm just checking to verify the name of it.
And while he's doing that, I am going to show you the Tabi merchandise. So right now, how we have it is that $5 of every purchase comes to Beyond the Evidence, and $5 goes to the defense fund or the lawyer fund, because we do want to get a lawyer involved in this.
I think that's an extremely important thing that we need to do at this point. Obviously, because of what happened tonight, but also
Yep.
for just general reasons.
So what I'm going to do is the $5 for the channel is going to is going to come for the channel part. Starting today, I'm going to put that towards the documents that we want. We want the trial transcripts from Elizabeth Balser's trial. We're looking at over $12,000 to get that.
Okay. Yep. Okay, I got it now. I got the correct one. And then I'll say this too. They're $25 a copy for the book, but I will throw in $5 of the proceeds for everything, for every book I sell from here on and out until we get that 12,000 towards this. How about that?
And we're going to try to do some fundraisers. Andrew, is it $5 every item or every purchase?
It's not letting me post in the chat, so if you want to grab that out of the private one there, Marv, and put it up, that's the email address. I will start looking at it tonight in the morning, and we'll start getting those put out again. I think this is time for me to get a PO box as well, because I don't want people having my address. No offense to all of you, but whatever happened tonight, definitely not.
Okay, so you can order. Okay, so every item. So does that mean that this price list has to be adjusted? Because I believe we did every purchase. All right, so I'll just show you we'll work out the pricing here and get that updated. But I just want to show you what we did for the shirts. So we have a blue one, a black one for Mark. We have another blue. These are going to be sweatshirts, hoodie type things.
Could we get the Libra scales in white? I ain't trying to wear Elwood College, no offense. There you go. That'll work.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like that. That's the one Mark has, I think.
Yes. In fact, I've got mine on tonight too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I need one.
Yeah. And then for the ladies, we did one with flowers and a picture of Tabi on there in multiple colors.
Okay.
And then
it's too bad that was the
tumblers also.
So that was the most clear picture of her that I could get in focus enough to make her face big enough for the cover.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of great family photos, but unfortunately the cameras at the time are not all that great unless you had like a perfect zoomed in Nikon, that was right before the digital era. So yeah, I like that you put that on there because it's just shows the person that I remember walking the halls. Mm-hmm. And we weren't close, but I do remember how awful she was treated and how terrible it felt.
We have two different kinds of tumblers. So Andrew's been putting the link in there. I will make sure that the link is in the description. This is not a normal shop that you go and buy at. This is Andrea's business. It's her and her sister. If you need to find them and you can't find the link, just remember, Two Sister Queens. That's the name of their business. She does all my merchandise for Tabi and for Beyond the Evidence. So, and then we'll just make sure that the prices are reflected correctly. And just so you know that there is a shipping fee of $8. If you order a lot of items and the shipping is over $8, you'll get a second invoice for the extra shipping cost. Yeah, and these are made to order, so these are not in stock.
It's important to point out, sorry, in conjunction with this though, that when I order these new books, it could take a couple weeks to get here, but I will take your orders and I'll make a pre-order list like I did last time, and
Yes.
they'll get sent out, and I'll even cover the postage, $25, and 5 of it will go to the Justice for Tabitha Fund. That
Cool.
Mark already said has a decent start, but we got a long way to go to get all the documents we want, plus
We have $500.
potential retainer on a lawyer too. I mean, there's work to be done.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. As you said, the fund we have set up has $500, but we have a long way to go. So we need some help with getting transcripts and exhibits, and to get that lawyer fund to grow.
yeah, I think after tonight, there needs to be a sense of urgency amongst us all.
I agree.
The hills have eyes.
Yeah, and they're out. They have been for a while now.
I will say this before we go. I find it awfully curious that this book's been out and in circulation for 2 years, but it's just now tonight that I'm hearing that I talk a lot of shit. I don't write checks with my mouth that my ass can't cash.
Right.
Let me just say that. So also, you know who I'm talking to. You have my number. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to interview you.
Yeah, come on the show. Tell us why we're wrong.
Exactly.
We got receipts.
Exactly.
All right.
We're going to be back on Thursday. And we will read the last chapter, right? And have a final discussion wrapping up the book. And then we'll let you know where we're headed next.
Stay tuned.
Yes. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.